All right, so now we know the product that we're going to be selling, the funnel we're going to be sending everybody to. Next, we got to figure out how to get people into it. All right, it's awesome when you can plan it out and say, okay, I want it to be this, I want to give this, and this away. I record the video, I've got the beautiful funnel, everything looks great, and then no traffic comes. So now my focus is bringing traffic into that funnel. Before I dive in on how exactly I'm going to do that, I want to explain more about why this is called PR Power Play. Power is actually an acronym. Power stands for public speaking, online presence, word of mouth, earned media, and retention. Those are the 5 areas of business that I'm going to be focusing on, the 5 areas of public relations to scale and build this business to 7 figures in 12 months without spending a dime on paid advertising. So today, my focus on the POWER acronym is earned media. So earned media is going to bring me in organic free traffic, and that's what I'm looking to do. Okay, I want to have other content outside of just me talking to my computer, hoping that you're listening, to bring in more of an audience, because you know about me, but many others don't. So what I have going on right now is I've got my VA. His name is Fidel.
Hey.
I pay him $4 an hour, and what he's doing is he's pitching podcasts on our story. So what I told him to do was to go to Apple Podcast charts under the keyword entrepreneurship and you'll see a chart from the top show to bottom on their charts. What I told him to do is start at the bottom. You see, a lot of us get caught up in ego and we want to be on that biggest show possible. And yes, I do want that because that reaches a larger audience much faster. But sometimes it's not about the fastest way, sometimes it's about the right way. The bottom of the list is gonna be much realistic to land those interviews first, and then we'll work our way as we have more podcast interviews, more people hear about us, more of a following. As we build our following, that's when we can land the bigger shows. The bigger shows aren't going to have us on with 100 likes on our Facebook page or with 50 people in our Facebook group. They need to see a bigger presence. In order to build that bigger presence, I'm going to start with the smaller shows because they still have an audience. And what Fidel is using is he's using pressnation.io to send the pitches and track when they're opening it and when they're replying to it. And here's a video of him actually filling out a form and sending a pitch to Amy Porterfield, which again, it was a larger show. So I told him, hey, let's back off of the larger shows. Let's go after the smaller ones right now. And we'll get a better response rate with that, and we'll be able to start to spread our message and spread our story from there. Now, to incentivize my VA, who he gets paid hourly, so whether he lands podcasts or not, he's going to be getting paid. I told him, hey, I will give you a $10 bonus for every podcast interview that you land us. So that way it incentivizes him that every podcast, I don't care if they have 10 listeners, I don't care if they're brand new and have no subscribers, I want every podcast interview I can possibly land. So every single one he lands me, whether they have 10 followers, 100, 1,000, a million, doesn't matter. He gets paid $10 for every podcast interview he lands me, because that again is going to spread our message and get us out there. And that's why we actually built a podcast funnel. Here's a podcast funnel that I've built. The top of the funnel has a video that's about 3.5 minutes long, and it explains more about my backstory, who I am, what I'd love to teach on their show, and then it has an opt-in form that just gives me their name and email, and I explain they're not being added to an email list. This is just so I know that they're interested, and I will reach out to them and schedule an interview through their booking link. And then at the bottom, I've got testimonials. I've also got my headshot and my bio, because they're going to need that when they interview me. They always ask for your headshot and bio. So I go ahead and put that right there on the sales funnel page. I've also got all of our social media there. And then at the very bottom, I've got this where I'm sharing the PR power play, how I'm actually letting people watch me build a 0 to 7 figure company in 12 months using the exact strategies I want to teach on their podcast. It's selling myself to these podcasters on why they would want to cover me and everything. So this funnel is a great strategy, and no one uses podcast funnels. It's a great way to talk a podcaster into interviewing you without having to have a phone call every time. If they say, hey, I'm interested, tell me more, to Fidel, then Fidel can send them a link to the podcast funnel and say, hey, Andrew's got a video here. He explains what he would like to talk about. It explains more of his backstory. Can you check that out for me? And there's actually a form on there if you want to move forward. And don't worry, we don't add you to a marketing list or an email list. We just have you fill out that form so Andrew knows you'd like to interview him. He'll go to your website or reach out and schedule a booking time through your link. So that way they know, like, I'm not trying to sell to you a product or a service. I'm not trying to add you to my email list. All I'm trying to do is show you my story and tell you why you want to interview me. And that way it's all on one page. So this is a great strategy to use. Build a podcast interview page that sells your story on why they want to interview you. It gives your backstory. It has testimonials. It has all your social proof in there. And make sure that it has your headshot and your bio, and make sure that it has a little eye-catching thing, like something big that you're doing right now that would intrigue them and be like, oh, I want to hear more about that, and I think my audience would be intrigued by that, right? So again, you're selling your story instead of a product or service.